What's going on, guys? It's Jimmy here, and welcome to our daily show where we discuss the fourth stimulus check update, what's going on in our country, Washington, D.C., money, investing, and the next stimulus package, which has been announced at $3.5 trillion and is in the final stages in the U.S. House of Representatives. Going to give you the latest details on that, as well as the government shutdown crisis, where the government will shut down at the end of this month on midnight on September 30th. If they don't come to an agreement or pass a government shutdown bill, the government will shut down at the end of this month on October 1st, government shutdown. And Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen says that the government will come to a default. For the first time ever, the government will default on its debt obligations if they don't avert a debt limit ceiling crisis and raise the debt limit ceiling. Although Mitch McConnell says that the Republicans will not agree to raise the debt limit ceiling, even though they have to do this just to pay the interest alone on the country's past debt obligations. One way or another, they have to raise the debt limit ceiling, or else the government will default and will physically run out of money and not be able to pay its debt obligations. Yeah, we got a lot going on here this week, and the clock is ticking as there's a countdown for the government shutdown, the debt limit ceiling, and the $3.5 trillion stimulus package, and the $1.2 trillion stimulus package. I'm going to give you an update on all of this here in this video. If you're new to the channel, make sure to subscribe down below. I will keep you up to date on everything going on in our country and with this next stimulus package. If you find these videos helpful, don't forget to hit the like button for us down below. Okay, multiple different updates. Nancy Pelosi has two different press releases. Number one, on the stimulus package, the Build Back Better package, she says, quote, "Dear colleague, on the continuing action on the Build Back Better agenda," she says, "Dear Democratic colleague, this week we must take decisive action on proceeding with the Build Back Better reconciliation legislation. The president's vision for the future is one shared by House Democrats." Remember that the Democrats are going to pass this next stimulus package on their own. Not a single Republican is going to vote yes on this. Not a single Republican voted yes on the third stimulus check package either. "Thank you for the important work to establish House Democratic priorities. Our legislation is being reviewed by the House and the Senate Budget Committees for possible bird violation challenges in order to narrow our exposure in a bird bath." Yeah, interesting phrases there. Those are the rules that they have to abide by. Theoretically, they can actually override those rules with the reconciliation process just by voting on them. The House and the Senate are already in agreement on most of the bills for the stimulus package. The President and the Senate Democrats sent us a budget resolution with a cap of $3.5 trillion. I have promised members that we would not have a House members vote for a bill with a higher top line than what would be passed in the Senate. Hopefully, that will be at the $3.5 trillion number. We must be prepared for adjustments according to the Byrd Rule and to an agreed number. As we review our options, we must do so with the recognition that the reconciliation package must be substantial, as it must address the needs of America's working families and the urgent necessity to address the climate crisis. Remember that this next stimulus package has climate, it had immigration in there, which may or may not ultimately make it in there. As yesterday, the Senate parliamentarian ruled that the immigration policy cannot be included. A lot of Democrats are calling for it still to be included. Remember that the parliamentarian's ruling is technically a recommendation. And we've seen this from the third stimulus check package when the parliamentarian ruled that the $15 an hour minimum wage could not be included. The House actually included it anyways, passed it. Remember, the parliamentarian is just for the Senate part. The budget reconciliation is just the Senate rules, which means you don't need 60 votes to pass it. You only need the 50 to 51 votes to pass it in the Senate. And the Senate actually tried to put it in there as well, but they only got 42 votes. Now, whether or not that was because the Senate parliamentarians said it couldn't be in there, or that there wasn't enough Democrats that supported a $15 an hour minimum wage nationally, well, we will never know. So whether or not they include the immigration policy in there that could provide a pathway to citizenship for up to 10 million immigrants that are in the United States illegally remains yet to be seen, because they could include it in there, even though the Senate parliamentarian says it can't be in there or shouldn't be in there. They could technically just overrule her with a simple 50 to 51 votes. I see 50 to 51 because there's 50 Democrats in the Senate, 50 Republicans. The way the voting will go is 50 Democrats would say yes if all the Democrats agree to it. And then the 51st vote would come to the tiebreaker. 50 Democrats would say yes, 50 Republicans would say no. If that happens, then the tiebreaker would go to the Vice President, Kamala Harris. But because the Senate parliamentarian has said no to this issue and maybe even some more issues coming forward, the Senate parliamentarian is probably looking over multiple different things for the package, as we'll have to see what she's even looking at. They haven't actually even released the package to the public. Okay, they only released a certain sliver of the House package to the public. The Senate hasn't released anything to the public, so that just goes to show you what we're working with here. But the Senate parliamentarian ruled that, based on her recommendation, that the immigration policy can't be included. But we'll have to see if they even try to include it anyways. But what could happen is people like Joe Manchin might say, no, the Senate parliamentarian said it can't be included. I don't want to include it because I'm going to abide by her rules, which very well may happen. Nancy Pelosi says here, we must build back better with initiatives that include the Biden child tax credit, those monthly checks that are going to end at the end of this year. Child tax credits, monthly checks, $250 to $300 per month. Child care, home health care, universal pre-K, free community college, funding for minority serving institutions, MSIs, and improvements for Medicare, Medicaid, and the ACA. We must build back better with the important climate initiatives in our House bill. Of course, this is just a small sampling of what will be in the package. The bill is expected to be over 5,000 pages. And once we get more information on what will be in the bill, we'll be discussing it here on the channel. The president has set us on a course that does not end with this reconciliation bill. And there will be more stimulus packages over the next 12 months as they get more reconciliation cards on October 1st, which is the start of the new fiscal year. She says, let us stay the course for the people. Thank you for your leadership. Signed, Nancy Pelosi, Speaker of the U.S. House of Representatives. Next, from the newsroom of the Nancy Pelosi, a new poll, overwhelming majority of Americans support the Build Back Better Act, which is this $3.5 trillion stimulus package. Today, 66% of Americans, including 61% of independents, back the Democrats' transformative plan. So again, 66, I don't know why when I highlight that, it's like the worst color ever, but 66% of Americans back this $3.5 trillion plan. From Speaker Nancy Pelosi's office, an overwhelming majority of Americans, independents, and even 4 in 10 Republicans, 40% of Republicans, back President Biden's and House Democrats' plan to cut taxes for the middle class, lower costs for working families, create more jobs, and sustain economic growth for years to come. According to new polling from Navigator Research, shows high support for the Build Back Better stimulus package. Note that they mentioned tax cuts for lower and middle class here. As we get more information about the tax cuts in this stimulus package, I will be going through the details for that as well. These are all the different stimulus provisions being discussed to possibly be put in this package. The items in green have already been passed here within the last like month or so. The items in black are all the items that have been proposed by the Democrats. Remember, the Democrats are in control of the House, the Senate, and the presidency, and are going to pass this package on their own. So that's just how the political landscape is at this particular moment and how this package is going to be passed here. The newest item is this item here on number 26. I better not move that. Potential $600 to $1,000 included for Medicare recipients to help pay for Medicare benefits. We don't know exactly how it's going to work, but a potential, I know I'm in this corner here a little bit, but a potential $1,000 to help pay for Medicare benefits is the newest item that senior Democrats from the Senate, including Senator Bernie Sanders, has proposed adding into this stimulus package. And remember that a stimulus check was added into the second stimulus check package after they actually even wrote the bill. So the second stimulus check was actually added in after they wrote the bill. And everybody was literally like, "What? You wrote the bill?" This was back in December when former President Donald Trump was still president. And they wrote the bill and didn't include a stimulus check. And then people literally outcried and said, "How can you pass this bill without a stimulus check?" That's when Mitch McConnell was still leader of the Senate and Trump was still president back in December. And lo and behold, it actually ended up leading to a $600 stimulus check and almost to a $2,000 stimulus check because former President Donald Trump said it should be $2,000, but Mitch McConnell blocked that idea in the Senate. So there's all sorts of things that could be added in here, even up until the last moment. There is Medicare expansion currently proposed to be in here to include hearing, dental, vision benefits, including hearing aid and denture benefits. We'll have to see the details. I've seen some of these are going to kick in next year, some are going to kick in 2023, some, like the I think it's the dental benefits, might not kick in until 2028. But I don't want to get ahead of myself because none of this stuff has really, the wording has even been released to the public yet. So I don't want to get ahead of myself yet because a lot of this stuff is hearsay. So some of this stuff is going to kick in next year, possibly as early as January. And I'm not going to get too deep into details on when Medicare benefits are going to kick in yet because the bill hasn't passed yet. They haven't even released the bill yet. So when I get more firm wording on this type of stuff, that's when I will go over more details. Right now, a lot of that stuff is hearsay. Also, they're talking about a potential adult tax credit, but again, we don't know the details of that as well yet. It's expected to be for adults making under $50,000, and as well as the child tax credits, which we know are the monthly child tax credits, are monthly checks of $250 to $300 per month. Those stop at the end of this year. So those monthly checks that go out to 65 million children, a total of $3,000 to $3,600 per year, those stop at the end of this year. Now, they do want to extend those child tax credits possibly until 2025, but the child tax credit extensions are potentially over $1 trillion alone of this $3.5 trillion. And Senator Joe Manchin wants the bill to possibly be as low as $1.5 trillion. The benefits for seniors, the Medicare benefits, hearing, dental, vision, hearing aid coverage, dental coverage, denture coverage, and lower the Medicare eligibility age to age 60. That alone is supposed to be anywhere from $500 to $700 billion. Those two bill coverages, the child tax credit monthly payments, remember those stop at the end of this year. So if they want to extend that till 2025, and the senior coverage for Medicare, all those additional benefits, those two things alone could be over $1.5 trillion alone, just those two things. So if Joe Manchin wants to only spend $1.5 trillion, and just those two things alone could be $1.5 trillion, yeah, you see how things could get a little bit iffy. Yeah, so that's where we have a lot of negotiation, and we need Joe Manchin to come on board. But also, if they go from 3.5 trillion to 1.5 trillion, that doesn't leave a lot of room for a lot of other things. So I will keep you up to date with all these details. As well as Democrats are drafting a bill right now over the debt limit ceiling, which has to be passed or else the government will default for the first time ever. That's right. A government default would mean kind of like a person going bankrupt. It would be like the United States government doing this. Now, this is not a government shutdown. Government shutdown is a separate issue. That will happen on the midnight on September 30th or October 1st. We've had government shutdowns in the past, but a government default has never happened and would be catastrophically much, much worse. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen says that the U.S. government could run out of money or will run out of money sometime in October, and that a U.S. government default would permanently weaken the United States. Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell says that the GOP, which stands for the Grand Old Party, aka the Republican Party, will vote for the U.S. to default on its debt, meaning that they're not going to vote to raise the debt limit, and they're going to force the Democrats to raise it on their own, which they can do through the reconciliation process with the $3.5 trillion stimulus package if the Democrats can even do that in time, like over the course of the next 10 to 20 days, which is possible, but they got to get Joe Manchin on board. They got to agree to the stimulus package. They got to come to a price tag agreement. They got to agree to everything in the package. Remember, we have a lot of Democrats disagreeing about multiple different things, like the prescription drug pricing policy, the wording in the policy. We had some Democrats disagreeing about the salt taxes, some saying that they would vote no on the package if they weren't taken out of there and the limits weren't gotten rid of. We had some other Democrats saying that they wouldn't vote for the package if HSBUs weren't added in there. Historically, black colleges weren't given money in there. And we have all these different Democrats demanding that this be added in there, that be added in there, this be added in there, and all these different things, right? So that's the problem here is that we have Republicans saying they're not going to raise the debt limit with a standalone vote, which, by the way, they're drafting a bill for right now. And the Democrats actually had to nix $1 billion for Israel's Iron Dome, which some Democrats demanded be removed from this bill, which is unbelievable that they even have to add stuff like this in there. Why they add stuff like this into this bill is unbelievable that they're even thinking about doing stuff. Now, I understand Israel's an ally and stuff like this, but come on, guys. Why are we even thinking about doing something like this? And we're trying to avert a crisis like this, and they're cramming stuff like this into a bill that has nothing to do with our country at all. It's unbelievable what both of these parties do. I'm proud to say that I don't belong to either of these parties, Republican or Democrats, because they literally just play games all the time. All the time. But anyways, the plan right now is that the Democrats, because then again, they're the leaders of the House right now, they're putting together a bill right now as we speak, could be voting on it tonight in the House. For an emergency bill that's going to have the government shutdown in there. The government's going to shut down on midnight on September 30th. And it's going to raise the debt limit ceiling in there. And it's going to have disaster relief in there. And who knows what else. Apparently, money for Israel in there, right? I mean, they're drafting the bill. So who knows what else is going to be there. And some Democrats demanded that be withdrawn. It's unbelievable how Congress works. Is it not unbelievable that they do this crap? Yeah, Lily's here. Here, come here. Lily's here, and even she cannot believe it. Tell him. Even she cannot believe it. Yeah, go on. I know. So, anyways, yeah. If you don't think that both parties don't play these games, they do. but at the expense of the American people, right? They cannot let the government default. Okay. A default is catastrophically worse than a government shutdown. We've had government shutdowns before, right? For a few days. It's bad, right? People don't get paid. We see non-essential things shut down, right? That's bad. Government shutdown, even Janet Yellen said, could permanently damage the government. We're talking about credit ratings, Social Security payments might not go out. I've seen a lot of people ask in the comments, will the senators and Congress not get paid? I'm not sure if I can answer this question because this is the first, okay? A government default would be a first. It's never happened before, okay? So a lot of these things are like, maybe. It's never happened before, so maybe. Um, but if they miss a few payments, do you think that Mitch McConnell, who's worth like 80 million dollars, and Nancy Pelosi, who's worth over $100 million, and Joe Manchin, who's worth over $8 million, do you think any of them are gonna miss a few paychecks? Do you think it matters to them? No, not at all. Almost everybody in Congress is worth millions and millions and millions of dollars. Okay. If they miss a few paychecks, it's not going to mean anything to anybody. Okay. Almost everybody in Congress is worth millions of dollars. Okay. The only people that maybe aren't is like anybody that's brand new and it's like a normal person that maybe came in. So, yeah, it's very possible that Congress might not get paid because if the government runs out of money, they're probably not going to be able to pay Congress even. And again, I don't know if anybody can even give a definitive answer on that because the government has never defaulted. It's never happened. So, I mean, the government sent out that letter to states and cities saying if this happens, that states and cities may have money shut down for us, almost everything. So, this is a very, very serious issue. Yeah, and as we read here in the video before, Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer said in a joint statement on Monday that the House would pass legislation before October to fund the government through the year end and tack on the debt ceiling suspension through October if they can get the votes to pass it. Remember, they need Republicans to vote this, or they have to pass it through reconciliation, which they may or may not have time to do, to once again meet our obligations and protect the full faith and credit of the United States. But get this. Addressing the debt ceiling limit is about meeting obligations the government has already made, like the bipartisan emergency COVID relief legislation from December, as well as vital payments to Social Security recipients and our veterans, the lawmakers wrote. Furthermore, as the administration warned last week, a reckless Republican forced default could plunge our country into recession. The military might not get paid. Social Security recipients might not get paid. Veterans might not get paid. Pretty much anything, any money that comes from the government might not get paid. And as of right now, the Republicans are going to vote no to raise the debt ceiling. So it's going to be very interesting to see what happens. Let me know your thoughts down below in the comments. I will keep you up to date on this. They're drafting a bill as we speak to combine government shutdown, debt ceiling, and disaster relief for Hurricane Ida, and who knows what else in there. And we'll see what the votes have. Remember, they can pass the bill in the House by themselves, but the Senate will need 10 votes, and if no Republicans come on board, the vote will fail. So I will keep you up to date. Make sure to subscribe down below. I'll keep you up to date on the government shutdown, the debt ceiling, the next stimulus package, and the infrastructure package here on this channel. Yeah, subscribing is completely free. Click the bell icon after subscribing to get notifications when we go live with new videos. You can also click the share button down below to share this video with your friends and family so that they know what is going on with our country as well. You can click this video here to watch my newest stimulus check video next. And this video is how President Biden is in support of raising Social Security benefits. So click on one of those videos next. Thanks, guys, and I will see you in the next video.